What's your favorite features then in the game?
Autonomous rebel suppression.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
What else do you need, man?
Yeah. Welcome to the 6th anniversary stream for a little game that got released from Paradox. So we got Joanne Anderson here and myself, Jake Leeper from PDS, and we're here to fill you with all these anecdotes and such from the history of this little game here, Europa Universalis 4. We're going to play a bit, but that's not really what it's all about here today, although we'll grab Muscovy just for fun. It's more about, what led us here today. What's the past 6 years and then some been? Because, it was released 6 years ago, but the story begins even before then.
I remember the original pitch I went to Fred with was a slightly simpler company, a smaller back then. It's like, I want to make a game. Yeah, which game? Yeah, EU4. Oh yeah, well, it's time for a sequel. Let's do it. What shall it be? I'm like, then I wrote down a few lines, so like what the vision for the game should be. It's like the vision for EU4, it was started with as 4 lines. First line was 25% focus on easier to get into, 25% for better presentation, 25% focus on multiplayer, and 25% focus on new cool features. It's like that was the
so there's the bit, but I mean we're hundreds of people now, right? Bit of a different story all those years ago, and because I don't know, you, Fred, and Thomas, and a couple of others. Yeah,
I think like when we started developing EU4, we were like at the last legs of the CK2 development in 2012, 11. 15, 20 people at the studio, maybe 30 people entire company. It's grown a little bit.
That's like a tenth of what we have today, if that. It's like it's come on leaps and bounds since.
I basically took EU3, included all expansions, all content, everything we had in the game. Removed some features that were not really all that great, like most of the Japanese and Chinese mechanics for Divine Wind, which was arguably not the greatest design.
Yeah, I mean that was the last one that came in for EU. Yeah,
EU3 Divine Wind. The magistrates were kind of shit. Coalesced a bunch of features, putting them together, removing the domestic policy sliders that we had in EU2.
Oh, I don't know. Sliders is a hot topic. Yeah, people love their sliders.
Yeah, but the things we added made for eventually a better game. And then we're like, okay, we had a game. We always had something playable. Actually, and Thomas took like the EU3 code. He basically took the CK2 graphics engine, which was our new cool graphics system.
Oh, yeah, I mean, check it out, right? Still holding up.
Yeah. Thomas ported in entire code of EU3, cut out a bunch of features. Chris King was the designer back then. He worked out the trade system, which all the flows and control of trade that we have here. Oh yeah,
this is a big departure from like the centers of trade you send your merchants constantly to.
And we might as well use the derogatory term that people use, the mana system.
Oh, the super manas, right?
The mana system.
It's like we resisted that term internally for a long time, and then it eventually was like, okay, everyone's saying mana.
Yeah, well, that was introduced because we had all these things with EU3 about like the balances of like the sliders and the numbers, and you basically never... It was basically to control the tech and idea system. Those systems got in early, so we basically had the games constantly playable for like over a year before release. We were just playing multiplayer campaigns at the office constantly to get the balance and polish.
And that's something that holds true today, right? We ensure that we keep our games playable. We always want to be able to play them internally, get our hands on, get a feel for how development's going as we go into expansions and the like.
And what have we done in those 6 years with the game?
How many expansions? I've lost track by now. That could not have been the idea 6 years ago, right?
No, it's like I like the model we have started with the CK2 because it was easier and better than the EU3 one. It was better for the customers. So it's like, okay, so what shall we do? And I don't know how many remember the first one released called Conquest of Paradise. When we're talking about features that are not always the best, the Conquest of Paradise, what is it known for?
It's got the random new world that was added with that one.
Yeah, and while it technically worked, it was perhaps not the best one we've ever made.
Bit lumpy, bit bumpy. We had Wealth of Nations following up.
That was a good one. It was basically economy focus. Respublica was something we did in a very short period of time. It was like Poland and Netherlands focus with some mechanics. And then
so this one really struck it out the park, right?
Yeah. Now I wish that Henry Clemander, Trent Tragler, was here today, but he had to I think his the school is shut today or something for planning, so he has to be home with kids. Because most of Art of War was basically, I was coding a bunch of shit, or not shit, but features. Like I want to make a map. We want to make the map the better. Yeah. So, and he was basically, he and some other betas were like redesigning the map. So actually get the division of provinces the same all over the...
Yeah, because
it used to be like the European distribution. Of course, now Europe is even deeper, but
like a lot of this hadn't been touched on too much early on, right? You could see remnants of EU4 on that. But it's like just how much time spent actually just working, just solid map work for Art of War.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah. And then we actually changed the map again for every area when we got back to them. But Art of War is cool. We added all this like military things. I think the army template thing is from there.
Common sense. Yeah. Now this is where like strategically the whole game got the new layer, right? We added in the fort system at that point. Development base stacks became development. Buildings all got switched out in common sense.
It made for a better game.
Mare Nostrum, which...
Do anyone in chat remember Mare Nostrum?
I mean, we're here to be honest, right? It was not our greatest received DLC we put out. We can't look at all. Yeah, amazing.
I designed. We added sailors and everything, and I can arguably say that it's probably the one I'm least satisfied with that I've ever done.
Cradle of it was kind of like a hodgepodge of lots of different features. It had the army professionalism stuff that came up, so people had this decision between mercs or training their
a bunch of different government things for the various.
Yeah, so the Mamluk government, quite a lot around the Timurids. I think that's when we broke up Timurids with their successor states.
Yeah.
That was, I remember it was actually Lamander coming to us like, we need to do this, it'll be great. We give it a go. It's like, wow, it really is great. The first time I joined the company, there's this ongoing custom nations play. Oh man, when did we have custom nations? That was Eldorado. Still amazing, and still the most popular nation to play in the game is a custom nation. So the custom nation game is like, oh Jake, you join in. It's like session 2 or 3. I make this custom nation with random ideas. I'm like, whatever, let's have fun. And Johan says, I won't attack you first session. Yo, I'm nice. And you're right, you didn't attack me first session. But session 2, God have mercy on me.
I destroyed your country.
There was nothing less. I was playing in Pomerania. I was like, yeah, let's make a fun little country. And just, I think you'd built up something of like a greater Livonian Finnish empire, and you just invade and crush. So it's come quite the way, and we're far from done yet. We're working on the biggest, most badass update that EU4 has ever seen. Yeah. And we've been teasing that quite a bit. Not ready to talk everything about it, but there's still quite a bit to go with EU4. So for all those EU4 lovers out there, it's a good time to be alive.
The names for the various expansions we've been doing, not every single one, but a lot of them actually wrote up as design names of during the first year.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to have something called Conquest of Paradise, Wealth of Nations, Art of War. Whenever we were going to do something in India, was supposed to be Dharma. Something in Middle East was supposed to be Cradle of Civilization.
Yeah. But it's good for like setting the target of what you want to do here, right? You don't kind of get misled.
First we had like all these classic books like Art of War, Common Sense, and so on. Yeah.
Oh man, with the comments, you kept writing jokes into Dev Diary. It's just common sense that we would have this building system. It's just common sense.
It's just puns.
It's important to have fun when developing the game, right? Oh, this is one of the early EU3 things I did, and I was worried, are they going to not hire me because I've done this before? Friend of mine would play online a lot. I was like, let's make a flag out of the whole map.
We were not always the greatest at map drawing. There's so much wrong in this map. And I'm not talking about the horrid colors in the middle there, but it's like...
There's no Shetlands, there's...
No, but like I'm talking about the coast of Morocco there.
Uh-huh.
That looks a little bit weird.
Yeah, that is a blast from the past.
God.
Shout out to St. Lucas who I made that map with. This is the first world conquest I did in EU4. Yeah. And that was some time ago, and some time invested, and everything's just rebelling to hell and back. And that was version 1. There wasn't a 1.0 that was shipped, was there? It was like 1.1.
Yeah, because the 1.0 was done like when we were making these CDs for burning. So basically, then we started working on a patch, and that was basically 1.1, which was ready like a day or two before release. Mm-hmm. So nobody ever played 1.1. Uh-huh. And now we actually missed, and we don't really know whatever version is.
Yeah, the earliest we can go back is 1.4 right now.
Yeah, because you can't go back further in history on the Steam uploads here. Yeah. So.
I checked at home, like I've got a saved version of 1.3, I think that's the first one without DLC. I think there was one other picture I had there. Comes back to you saying like 25% multiplayer focus. So here's a typical EU3 multiplayer experience, because we're in the lobby here. Yeah. It's just, playing this multiplayer. Just to me, it was like nothing else. No other strategy could scratch that same itch. Playing online. Shout out to a lot of people there that I used to play frequently with. So yeah, those are some early memories of me with Europa Universalis, and those were all from before I started working here. It was, I think, late February 2015. I came along. Was working under Mario.
Oh yeah, it was QA.
Yeah, QA back then. Good times. Multiplayer being one of the focuses for the early pitch, right?
Yeah.
I think we've come a long way from, we used to call it Lobby Simulator back in the day when we were playing, because it's like, okay, the guy on the crap connections dropped, let's go back to that. But now we have all these newfangled things like functional hot join. I was like, could not imagine that playing EU3.
It's actually playable in multiplayer these days.
Yeah, I forget which expansion it was that we sat down. It's like, okay, we are going to fix multiplayer once and for all in EU4. And that has paid in dividends, right?
It's worth it.
Yeah, to me, like the game's a whole lot of fun, but it really springs to a whole new life when you play it in multiplayer. I got Johan Johns on my case every month, going, "I really need my fix of Dev Clash. When do we get that?" It's like I sympathise.
Yeah.
But yes, if you think you want it, we want it twice as much.
Yeah, I mean, I schedule my week around the Tuesday, so I can always go like to participate in the Dev Clash and then go out and have a drink with the people.
No, it's almost been a bit of a contest for project management of that, because Tuesday afternoon is a holy time. It's when we have the Dev Clash. Oh, but we really need to have this meeting, or no? Because it's the holy time.
It used to be like when I was a studio manager, it was mandatory. It was less than 30 people then. It was mandatory to participate in EU3 and EU4 Dev Clashes on Tuesdays. And people were not allowed to have like important meetings because it was not the...
gets in the way.
Yeah, because it's like, why are we making these games? So we can enjoy playing them ourselves as well.
Like that remains a key to when we make them. It's like... we make the games we want to play ourselves, because if we can't enjoy them, how can we tell people at home, this is great? Yeah. It just doesn't come together. The chat's already going all apparently poggers over you guys. I don't know, I think I'll let you guys steal the show. We've
all right.
Yeah, let the young people take over.
It's time for the new generation.
Okay, so this is Lorenzo. What
this is Lorenzo. Yeah, this is Lorenzo. He's Italian.
In EU4, I'm a programmer. I'm a gameplay programmer. I create the bugs.
You create the bugs or the features?
Also the features, but mostly the bugs.
And you are Q and you catch the bugs he makes?
Yes. Yeah, that's my nemesis.
Daniel. No,
he's the star.
We're teammates.
Yeah.
And you are?
I don't know. I'm the French Paradox. I'm Matthew. I'm one of the programmers too. I fixed Lorenzo's bugs.
So what's the story behind your nickname? Were you just called French until you joined Paradox? And
Okay,
like,
right.
okay,
No. Here is the story. The story is when I joined, they're like, "Oh, you need a Steam account, to get access to all the secret stuff and all that." And I already had something, and I was like, "Oh, that means I need a new handle." And I was like in panic because that's your first day, and then you have to just get going. Like I can't just stand in front of the blank screen for 2 days in front of my manager saying like, "Yeah, I couldn't boot the game because I haven't found a handle yet." So like I said, okay, something Paradox. Wait a minute, isn't that something about being French and a paradox? So I looked up the internet and that confirmed there is a thing called the French paradox. It's an actual paradox.
Do you know it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the fact that we drink much more wine than other countries, but we actually don't die earlier. Okay. It's called a paradox because people would assume that drinking well just kills you, but it's not.
I remember my second day here.
Second day?
Yeah, it was my second day here. At that time there was a Death Clash running. And I was not told about this before, but they told me, "Oh wow, there is this country. Why don't you join and play the Mughals for this guy that is missing?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sounds nice." And then I got, they were like, it was the team multiplayer. Do you remember?
Yes.
And all the 3 teams attacked me and racked me up in that country, and I was like, But
at least you had a country.
Yeah.
Because when I joined, they were like, "Hey, we need someone to sub for the game." I hadn't touched EU4 in a year at that time because I thought I was working on Stellaris, and then on my first day they told me, "No, you're in EU4." So I just boot up the game, and I'm like, "Sure, you join next France." I'm like, "Okay, France." I'm in my comfort zone.
It can't be that bad.
Yeah, right. And I started like, "Wait. Why am I in South America? Wait, why am I a vassal of Morocco? Wait, what is happening?"
I remember that time because I was expanding into France and I wanted your last provinces and I was like, "Hey Matthew, can I get those provinces?"
Yeah, I was like, "No."
I saw them, Johan and Jake showing some EU3 pictures. I wish I would have known because I actually was home at my parents' a couple weekends ago and I saw some old screenshots from when I played EU3 as well. Did you guys play?
I started on EU3. Actually, my first contact with the Paradox game was a friend coming to my house and say, "Hey, check out this game. It's like super strategy and much more deep and nerdy than Civ or whatever else you're playing. It's cool. And look, you can just copy paste the folder and run it. You don't need to buy it. It's awesome. These guys don't know how to make copy protection." That was awesome.
No, I actually started with EU4, and I actually started also really late. Then I played a huge amount of time, but still I'm pretty bad at the game. And and then I ended up
You're
here.
pretty good at the game now. At least when you play Papal State.
I mean, one
kind of
one out of 2 runs end up in not you getting a coalition.
No,
but because I'm testing it to see if everything works fine. That's why I always get coalitions because they works.
What's your favorite country in the game?
One of my favorite countries I would say is Oda. Japan. That's like one of my favorite nations. And when we implemented it, I might have told this story before, but I wrote to Lomander, who was our content designer at the time. I was like, are we sure we want a country with all these military ideas? And he's like, "Yep, we want them." Like
Oh
that.
yeah. I remember when I discovered them, I was asking like, how did we do that? It was like, well, the previous ideas of Japan were pretty strong, and we did not want the miners that we create from that to be weaker. So I guess they all have to have super powerful ideas.
But Oda also have the history of them actually conquering a lot.
Yeah, they did.
Japan, so.
And what about your favorite countries?
My obvious run when EU3 was Teutonics, Prussia, and then Germany. Back when forming Germany gave you like a lot of bonuses. You could cause an old Germany and Austria at the time when you formed Germany, and you needed like 10 provinces or something.
One except the Papal State. Well,
and Firenze.
I really like
outside Italy.
Come on, outside Italy. I never played outside Italy. It's not interesting. There's not HRE, no one province minors that are really rich. But yeah, Milan was very fun. It is almost outside Italy.
Almost.
What do you mean? Lombardy. Oh yeah, right. You're okay, right. Yeah.
What does it say here? Milan, region, Italy.
Okay, but it also said that of Istria.
Yeah, it also said that Nice is in Italy and that Rossello is in Spain. It's like, what is this?
Do you, because I also joined Paradox because I do love EU3 and EU4. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, the story for me was like I was looking for another job because I was working in finance and that wasn't working for me. I was tired of making software for bankers, and I said I want to do something more with my life. So I start looking up left, right, opportunities come and go. Nothing concrete actually comes out. And I remember I was home and I was like, oh, I guess I should really look for another angle, blah blah blah. I guess I should try to send more CVs tonight or something like that. Maybe ping some friends. And I'm like, I'm too tired for that shit. I'm just gonna play a game. So I just pop up. I don't remember if it was Stellaris or EU4. I just start the game and I saw the loading screen and I don't know. Just thinking, I was like, wait a minute, games. They need people to make that stuff. I just opened the website completely on a whim. I was like, they're looking for a programmer.
So they're asking if Dev Clash is being planned, and we can't say if it is or if it's not, but...
I think Björn said that he was looking into it, but it was too early.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair...
Do you guys miss the Dev Clash?
Yes.
Yeah,
Damn
sure.
if I miss it.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
Well, actually, no,
badly,
because
but-
as long as the Dev Clash does not happen, I am the standing winner of the title.
Oh. No,
That-
we have to change. Well, I'm
I have the first
standing
place
winner
title
of the
from the last
one I
Dev Clash,
played.
so yeah, exactly. My plan is to command the next one, so I keep my title and I'm unchallenged. You know what? Because I don't even know how I managed to win.
Because of good allies.
But that is always the Dev Clash.
I mean, you want to talk to us about good alliances from that Dev Clash? He put 4 Italians in the same alliance.
It was great. It really worked out until they betrayed me, all of them.
Yeah, like all Italians alliance end.
I was actually really loyal to that. I didn't even try to get land to steal them land from them. I was collaborating. I was guiding the crusade against the Ottomans.
Wait. Do you think that loyalty has anything to do with the Italians stabbing you, or?
No. The mistake where you didn't stab them first.
You won because of lies. You had great allies.
Well, I mean, I made a good. I think I made a good deal with Dracus at the start, because the basically, since Burgundy was probably a bit on top of some of the start, maybe not all the starts. I think Orissa was super strong, and a couple others in India. Well, I mean, he was the Indian Dev Clash for Dharma. But what happened is that they put one of my vassals. Well, actually, PU was Holland. He was played by Dracus, who's a pretty good player and pretty good at getting alliances. So I was like, oh. Okay, I have to deal with this guy, and either I find a way to murder his ass immediately, or we work together. And I'm actually super bad at murdering people. I'm much better at collaborating. I mean, I'm French, right? So, so yeah, I tried to work out an alliance with Dracus early, and I think that's worked out pretty well. The big idea was like, okay, you're gonna be unchallenged on the seas, I'm gonna be unchallenged on the land. We just draw a line here, and we split the world, and that worked out pretty well. And you remember the Grandest Land last year, right? The Polish Castle event that is awesome, and you guys should go there if you have ever got the chance. We were playing as Switzerland, and then we got exiled in our colonies in New Zealand because everybody backstabbed us because they did not have any respect for Swiss neutrality, and I have names.
Do you have like the agreements signed?
Yeah.
You have nothing.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not entirely fond of signed agreements everywhere, because it means that there's less chance of
stabbing them.
Of stabbing, of surprises in general, right?
Surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprise mechanics. Let's call them surprise mechanics. Yeah, it's the surprise mechanics of MP, you know? Someone just attacks you, surprise mechanics. The Italians just backstab you, surprise mechanics. Yeah, anyway, so we were playing we got exiled, so we decided to put everything on our fleet, because basically troops in New Zealand are not super useful. I mean, there's a bunch of kangaroos sometimes you have to fight, and kiwis, but it's doable. So we put a lot of boats. And then we started raiding, well, not raiding because we didn't have the raid, but we did some piratery, like the good old piratery everywhere. Up into the point where we were literally asking for someone to, like, you go to a player and say, hey, give me fleet basing rights. He's like, oh, 2 shiny ducats, I'm gonna take them. And it's like, wait, where's my trade going? And there's like 50 ships in its harbor taking all his money. That was awesome. And we got so many good experience with that. And everybody thought that that's where we got the pirate design. But no, actually, Golden Century was already in QA phase, I think, at the time. So basically, we couldn't take much of the feedback we got into the expansion. We adjusted a bunch of stuff though, due to our experience. But I think that's where we actually realized the potential of pirates even more. Like,
This
to be
is
fair,
fun.
yeah, the first time we said was like pirates, it's fun, it's meme, all that stuff.
It was a little bit on the side.
We're gonna put like all those references to Monkey Island and Pirates of the Caribbean and all that stuff. That's gonna be fun. But then we realized, like, holy fuck, in MP it's so awesome to play. Like, it's one thing to privateer the AI, right? It's another to have Rory comes to you and beg on his knees, please stop raiding me. I don't have any money. Oh no!
It's over. Go.
Hello. So, chat.
Just gonna boost your. There we go.
Boost stability.
Yeah, so you don't get.
Oh, so you don't get peasants.
Johan, we all know you like peasants, so we try to keep some for you.
Right.
I am Zach, or Sidestep, for those of you who know me from streams, and I worked on glorious 3 weeks on EU4.
Nice. My name is Kaiser Johan, or Johan Jones. I don't work on EU4. I never had, actually. I think I'm one of the only ones who haven't. Because you worked on EU4, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah?
Kind of worked on it before.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Or you touched it slightly.
I broke it a lot. I'm Tegan. I'm now a QA manager, but when my time on EU4, I did most of the testing for it outside of Stardan and his cohort as well. So I got to see the game broken as well.
I just remember my first week when they put me on the project and they were like, oh, so yeah, you played a lot. I'm like, I played some EU4. They're like, you're gonna be in the Dev Clash. I'm like, yeah, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was that the Byzantium Dev Clash?
Yeah, that was
the
the
first
Britannia
one.
one.
Oh wow,
And-
that's
wow.
a brutal start.
Yeah, and they had this like thing where they're gonna roll, roll for the countries, and so they had this big system where you were placed in buckets, and every bucket had 6 countries. So then it came to my turn, and I was like, okay, so I choose this bucket. And people are like, ooh, wow, really? I'm like, what? See, this great countries, and they're like, yeah, okay, sure. So I rolled, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll take Hungary, and they're like,
Really?
really? Really? I was like, yeah, well, why? And they're like, well, you have the Kaiser in like Ottomans. I'm like,
Do you want to rethink?
I'm like, I didn't listen to any of that.
Did you know actually that because you had to pick, right? Except the winners of the previous Dev Clash. So we got to choose our countries.
That's not broken at all.
Yeah,
I'm really
no.
glad I wasn't in that one.
So yep, I got
Really
the
glad.
Ottomans.
But it was great fun.
Do you remember the second session, which was insane? It
Yeah.
was you and me against the whole world.
France, Lithuania, Poland, everyone, Mamluks. It was just shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the game. I was shit at the game.
Yeah.
Had you played it before you?
Yeah, maybe like 100 hours.
Mm.
Single player only.
That's more than I had when I started.
Well, I mean, it's...
Yeah. Trial by fire. I was convinced that me and you were in a Dev Clash together, but it's not. It must have been me and you.
Yeah.
Because we were in the group one, the Happy 3 Friends one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which expansion was that now again?
That
was that
was-
Cradle?
No.
The
Was
one
it
before Cradle?
The one before Cradle. No,
Maybe.
the one after Cradle, because Cradle was when I joined. I joined
Okay.
in the gap between Third Rome and Cradle, because Cradle was the first one I
Yeah,
worked.
you were playing in Italy, right?
Yeah.
The part of
the
the...
Renaissance Ducat party
Oh, right,
that
yeah.
did fantastically well. I actually went back over the forum thread earlier today, and so many people were going, oh, the Renaissance Ducat party, they're in a great position to do really well. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, especially for poor Niall in Austria.
Yeah.
Everything went wrong. So with
I
you
remember
out
you-
after like 5 sessions or something, we
Yeah.
all just went, yeah, whatever, carry on.
I remember you guys backstabbed us several times.
Probably unintentionally. Probably just like, we need to do something.
I also did some other great stuff in the U4. Like my first week, they were like, "Oh, we have a bug in the in the macro builder." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll fix it." And Starnan was like, "Hey, you, be careful with that." I'm like, "What?" It seems like an easy bug. He's just like,
Oh, I think I know which one you're on about.
and so I
Yeah.
fixed it, and I was like, "Yeah," and there was this bug in it, so I fixed that as well. And closed it, and then I reopened it
Yeah.
twice. Like, you broke that thing, and you broke that thing, and your fix didn't work. So I think I spent like 2 days just looking at the macro
Yeah,
builder.
I heard the macro builder code is like a nightmare to work with.
Yeah, and apparently it's also very much like a trial by fire thing for new programmers. Like, give them the macro builder.
Macro builder bug.
And
Hey,
then
you
play the
guys, have
dev
fun.
clash and get
Yeah.
destroyed.
But the sticking thing that when then I played my second dev clash for Dharma, I started off as Scotland, and I did really well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was in the lead.
Until
And then everyone just like, nah, he's too powerful.
Yeah.
So Burgundy, Netherlands,
Oh,
like,
oh.
and 2 more countries, like, just landed.
Ganged up on
Just Norway was as well, and everyone just killed me, like, to the point where I was like, there was no point in playing, so I just moved to Southeast Asia and sat there for like 8 sessions.
I remember that you actually saved me on that dev clash.
Yeah,
Do you remember that? Like
Hamburg,
I was,
like,
yeah, I was being attacked by Hamburg.
You were Ditmarshan, but you
Yep.
were warring in Ireland.
Yep.
which is
For some
also
reason.
great.
Why not?
And then Hamburg was like, I don't know what he's doing. I'm afraid of him. And he just kills him and sits on his capital. And I remember you writing to me like,
Help! Help!
So I'm gonna relay my trial by fire story.
Do
It's
it.
fairly similar to yours. I'd been here like maybe a week and a half, and said, oh, at that point everyone in Central QA had to be part of one of the internal dev multiplayers. And Katz, it's actually Katz. It's your fault, Katz. I'm blaming you.
A lot of systems.
had just moved out of Central, and he'd been in EU4. So I joined. They're like, oh, there's a space on EU4 for multiplayer. And I was like, okay, cool. Didn't click with me when they said EU4 multiplayer that they meant the dev clash that got
oh,
streamed.
you thought it was internal.
I'd watched the dev clash previously. Like I'd watched Paradox streams before I joined Paradox. So I had maybe 15, 20 hours in EU4 because I was CK2 Stellaris mostly.
Oh,
So I was like, yeah, I'll join the EU4 MP. That sounds great. And then I can't remember what, there was a conversation between me and Jake going on. It's like, what's your level of skill with EU4? And I'm like, not great. Fairly new. I've not really played multiplayer. I'll put you in Japan. So
what? That's not an easy start.
it was good for, I can't remember which one it was. It was the one before the group one. Oh, it was Historical Oddity. It was all the custom nations and ideas.
Oh, that
okay.
one must have been crazy.
So they were halfway through it because I joined the company in August. So coming back after the massive long summer break, it's like new person, we'll put them on Japan where they can't do any harm and they can't get ganged up on super easy. I think I spent the first 3 sessions hunched over my keyboard, panic like this, going, this country's in so much debt. Why has it got so big a fleet and not done anything with it? And I think I spent 3 sessions just trying to figure out how to play the game, how to get my country out of debt, and then go, right, can someone be friends with me? That didn't work. I did better in that than I thought I would, to be fair.
Well, I
How
mean,
long have you been in Paradox, by the way?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. So
Pretty
my
much
2
the same as
anniversary
me.
was soon.
Oh, look, he found it.
Oh yeah, that one.
I love that.
Sneaky cats.
I remember you asked me as well, like, can you give me military access?
Yeah.
I was like, why? I'm in Scotland.
Yeah. The thing is, I was
have a
trying to keep
plan.
it as I was trying to keep it secret as well, not to tell anyone what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
But yeah, Katz, you were very nice to me. You gave me, was it part of South America or something like that? When I was just like, I'm stuck in Japan and I can't really do much and everyone else is encroaching. It was like, I'll help the newbie out. Okay, I'm going to take the QA stance now because I can.
Yeah.
I've got a favourite bug that I found on EU4. You worked on EU4.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting thing you found in this then? The
I
most
mean-
interesting, quirky thing that's happened in EU4. Same question for you, Yo, because you've not worked on it. This will be
Nope.
interesting to hear from kind of outside of it.
I have a great one actually. It's more of a like I've seen some quirky stuff happen in like overnights of EU4 and stuff, but bug wise, it was when I was working in the macro builder, and there's like we changed images depending on your culture, right? So you have the Muslim ones and you have the ones, and then someone was like, you need to change the image for the manufacturers. It's supposed to have like an image and it's supposed to change depending on culture. And they're like, oh no, it doesn't change. And I was like looking at the image, and I just find out that there is no image there was no default image for manufacturing. Somebody just set it to be a mosque. Like, straight up, like, this is a mosque. This was pretty recent. We play multiplayer EU4 every Sunday, or we did. And if you left the do you want to extend or repay the loan window open, it would recalculate your interest. So I went to the bathroom and I came back and I had minus 20,000 ducats in debt because it just bugged. The interest was so bugged, it just like gone up. So I was like, well, so this is destroyed.
I think my favorite bug though, like of PDX games in general, must be from Imperator. There was one case where your units, like if all of them died, the actual army didn't disband. So you had like a stack of 0 units running around. And at that point, they had infinite movement speed. So they had like 999 movement speed. So they just
Interestingly, I've had the same issue with Stellaris. It seems to be a thing I find. Late in a day, long time playing a game, just running scenario testing and things like that, and just watching the screen basically, like I'm waiting for armies to move, someone's moving through my territory, and all of a sudden the entirety of my screen just goes black for a second, like flashes black for a second and then goes back, but I can still have the UI. I was like, what? Stop. And an autosave had happened just before. Reload the autosave and it happens again. What the hell? Reload it, just like spend time just going across the map. I found out what it was. French units going through my territory.
Oh, was that a unit model bug?
Yeah, the unit explosion.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
the French artillery and I set it to the slowest speed and I was just watching it and it's like it got to this one province and then suddenly went and the whole model just exploded across the screen. I was like, okay.
So French artillery exploding.
They did, yeah.
You're like,
and
what?
I was like, okay, maybe it's just this province or maybe it was just this, and it was one of the model unit packs. One of the special, like the reskin unit pack things, that was breaking it. And it's as one of the embedded was looking at it as well and going, happens if you do it here as well, and if you go in this province here, and it was some kind of weird combination. But it's one of those things you're kind of half looking at your screen, half not, and then suddenly, okay.
What's your favorite features then in the game?
Autonomous rebel suppression.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
What else do you need, man?
Yeah, I'll tell you mine. I think the age mechanics are really interesting. Like it gives you goals every year or so, and you can like work towards them and like plan ahead.
Yeah, that's also what I like about the missions. The weird thing is I've always liked EU4 because when I first started playing Paradox games, I actually started out with Vicky 1 when I was like 12.
Oh wow, that is old school.
I didn't understand anything, but I was kind of hooked. But then I moved on to CK. I was like, yeah, this is good. I like characters. And then when I started in EU4, I kind of felt it was like boring because you're not playing like not much RP and stuff. But now the more I play it, the more interesting it becomes. Right? It's such a good game of creating your own narrative, a lot like Stellaris is. But to me, this is like, you know, doing really weird alt history runs where like I played a lot of Congo. It's really fun.
Of all the nations.
Yes, of all the nations. And like Congo, bam, and just you know, closer to Horn of Africa, also fun. Madagascar nations, just doing these like really weird runs. And I also think that EU4 is just so good in multiplayer, like extremely good. Who are you, Thomas? Is the question. You need to introduce yourself.
I'm Thomas Johansson. I'm the studio manager of PDS, but the reason why I'm here is because I was the project lead for EU4 back in the day. So when we started the project, it was me and one of our programmers, Jimmy, who we basically took the map code of CK2 because that was our most modern game at the time. And then we took the gameplay code of EU3 and we put it in.
Yeah, and
then we sat there and we hit the code with a hammer for about a month until we could play EU3 in CK2. And from that we built the game.
And apparently a lot of, like basically all of EU3's content was also ported, right? Just events and stuff.
Exactly. No, the idea was that we wanted a game in there, so we have a stable base to stand on, and then we can keep crafting the game. And I remember we ripped out most of the systems.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah, but I think it was kind of cool that we had a functioning game from day one, really. And we sat there and we sort of like, and then Johan was sitting in, he had his own office, and his task was to figure out the whole. If people remember, in EU3 we had a very convoluted system with like you didn't get money directly or you got annual money. But you got money who you either could go directly into research or you can mint, which gave you inflation. So you couldn't make money without inflation. and Johan was going to sort out that system. But the thing was that it really sort of like, it's fit into everything. And I remember one day Johan suddenly came out of his office and said, "Monarch points!" and that sort of like changed the entire design of the game, really.
Yeah.
So instead
Did he come up with the name Monarch Points as well?
Yeah.
But we asked earlier what favorite mechanic or favorite DLC for EU4.
favorite feature and favorite
Yeah.
DLC?
Favorite DLC is probably Art of War, because I think, but it's such a long time ago. You remember it was really successful, right? But we really did a lot of stuff with the wars. Art of War had a lot of really good free stuff, and I think it also validated the way that we make our expansions. That we really learned that people take the expansion as a whole, and then we put like the stuff that works as free stuff in the free patch. And then we take that stuff that works as a DLC and the DLC stuff, and we experimented a bit back and forth. But that worked really well, and people really loved the expansion, even though, technically we could have gotten most of the stuff for free.
I should probably start by introducing myself for
Yes.
people who don't know.
Who
My name
are
is
you?
Daniel Morgård.
Yeah.
I'm currently the game director for Stellaris, but I've also been working on EU4 back in the day. I actually started at Paradox exactly 1 year before EU4 released.
Yeah, and after we started, right?
Yes.
Because I seem to remember you came on as a UX designer,
Yes.
and there was a limit to how much you could do, because we had a napkin sketch of a UI design, and then you have to save it, right?
Yeah, but we did have time to make some overhauls and things.
No, I think you and I sat there and you had lots of great things that you did.
Yeah, especially this thing.
Oh, was that yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like an essential piece of equipment to play the game.
Don't you remember, like, when I started as a UI UX designer, I made a HTML prototype? That you
I
could,
don't remember this.
I was actually thought that I was gonna, like, find it, but I actually didn't have time to, like, dig it up.
Alright, cool.
But I made an HTML prototype that used to, like, basically, like, switched out... I think I just took, like, I went into the game and, like, took a screenshot like this, and then I did something like, when you click this, I did, like, drew some ugly paint stripes, and it, like, replaced parts of it.
Yeah, and the macro builder is now the somebody said macro builder guy. It's been like a staple of the.
Yep.
It's like one of those things that we can't make a PDS game without these days.
Because when I joined Paradox, I'd been playing so much EU3, like I was a huge EU3 player, so I know exactly what I needed from the game. So it was very easy for me to sort of.
It's easier that way when you actually hire people who are fans from before, because you don't have to teach them what's good in the game.
Yeah, I mean, back in EU3 we had to, like, do this shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Click build here. You can actually play while we talk.
No, I really. Oh man, no. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
We still want
save the
people to watch
nation here.
watch the stream, right?
So,
Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. Do you need to introduce yourself?
Maybe you could introduce me.
Well, this is our great leader, Fred. Then CEO.
CEO at the
And
time
now-
of the release of this game.
Yeah, exactly. And now chairman of the board.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
this game was quite some time ago.
it was some time. Do you remember when we first, like, set sail of the product? Like,
Yeah, I talked about it before, when we
Yeah,
sort of like we were going to take all the EU3 expansions and turn them into one game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And focus more on online as well.
Yes, exactly.
Great
Multiplayer.
multiplayer experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure that it's actually the case all the time.
No, we didn't get all the way to release, but I think
Right.
perhaps we laid the foundation to where we are now. I actually do think you can play multiplayer fairly stably. When I was went from E4 to being manager, I actually had to make a policy that there was, like, no EU4 plotting outside of lunch and after work.
Wow.
Because there were specific chat channels about it.
Yeah.
And I remember that, the Holy Roman Emperor used to book Holy Roman Emperor meetings to plan out who was going to get backstabbed and not. I was like,
and they only spoke in German as well.
I don't know. I was not invited. Yeah, you could hear, like, it was really serious. We had to turn results every day in the office. And you can hear somebody coming up and to say, I want to talk to you in the meeting room. And the tone of voice was like, somebody's about to get fired. And then you can overhear from the meeting rooms, like, but if you support me in the North Sea, then... and I think that we got a bit of the diplomacy spirit in some of the Dev Clash games, which I thought was really fun.
And you remember the rifle guy on the front there? What he's wearing on his feet?
Yes, I do. We have on the roll-up.
Yeah.
He actually has Converse sneakers. the funny
But
thing,
since we only show him from the waist up,
Yeah, but
you don't see
yeah.
the Converse sneakers on,
but
on
the-
this
the
one. I
funny
think that's
thing- yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
exactly. The funny thing is that our artist at the time, she drew the guy, and then she figured, as some like an Easter egg, nobody's gonna, he's always
Yeah.
gonna be visible like that.
Right.
So nobody's ever gonna see the Converse sneakers.
No.
But then we're gonna go on a trade show.
Yeah.
And so we just took the picture,
Yeah.
printed a roll up,
Yeah. With the whole
and
guy.
sent it. Yeah, exactly. And whoever we just sent the picture over to whoever was going to produce the roll up.
Yeah.
And they didn't look at it or didn't know what to look for.
So when I
Good
started in
work.
2003, it was still under license, this game.
Yeah, exactly.
The Europa Universalis series was
Yeah.
under license. And we had just released EU2.
Yeah.
And so Philippe Thibault was the
Yeah.
original creator of the board game, which
Yeah.
is basically unplayable because it's like a million different pieces.
Yeah.
Of the game. And like hands up whoever played it. I
Yeah.
never did.
No, I think Johan has actually.
Johan has probably
Yeah.
played it. Yeah, he's the only one, so he
Yeah.
has to play single player. but then actually, when we were about to create EU3,
Yeah.
we contacted Philippe, and we were just like, yeah, you were there at that time, right? You started in 2004 or 5.
Yeah, I was
Four.
around.
Yeah,
but,
in
It
the
was
EU3.
before I was involved in any business decisions.
Right, but we contacted Philippe and said, we can make EU3, but we think that the royalty reporting is so hard to do, and we really don't like doing it. We were like 12 people,
Yeah.
so I was part of doing royalty reports together with the
Yeah.
like finance lady that we
Yeah.
had. So we need to buy it from you.
Yeah.
We need to buy the IP. Tell us how much you want, and then
Yeah.
we agreed on a price, and then we bought it, and
Yeah.
then we created EU3.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. It wasn't like, it was kind of coincidental.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's sort of like it's a bit, how we did it, how we did it in those days and how
Yeah.
small we were.
Yeah.
I mean, you were basically the entire publishing operations.
Yeah, that's
you
correct.
and then you had Susanna, and then you had Tulle, the artist.
Yeah, but at the time of EU4, I didn't show the game physically, but I went around and sold it, I think, to different people.
Yeah, exactly. You were still the sales guy, even though were you the CEO at that time, or was that later?
Yeah, I was CEO from 2009 and forwards.
All right.
So
yeah.
this was during my era. And I got the question every time when you sell this game to
Yeah.
retail, they ask, is it a turn-based or a real-time game?
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know what, it's like a turn-based game, but it plays in real time. And people are like, oh, that sounds weird. No, we don't want it. every time. So that's how the term grand strategy actually came up for EU3, because someone in the press had used it. So we used it for EU3. You call it the grand strategy game.
Exactly.
And
So
then
we
it
don't
took
have to
off.
explain anymore. But it's also like once we've established what the kind of games they do,
Yeah, yeah.
now we can almost say it's a PDS game, right? And people almost understand what it is, right?
Correct.
We've made our own genre. Do you have like any funny anecdotes from like the whole campaign of EU? Any of the EU games?
Well, I need to think about that for a while. I mix things up because I'm so
I
old
do the
now
same
that
thing.
everything is like what is what and what is who. Valdetoft created the music
Yeah.
for the game. I sent him the score for the original soundtrack to the movie 1492. If you remember that.
Yeah.
It's a total crap movie, but the soundtrack is absolutely great.
Yeah.
And I think one of the expansions is actually named after
The movie.
song
Oh, right. Yeah.
Conquest of America.
Conquest of Paradise.
Conquest of Paradise.
Yeah, that was the Random
Conquest
New
of
World
Right.
expansion. Yeah.
Which is the title track
Yeah.
from 1492.
Yeah, exactly.
I could hum it here probably, but I'm not going to do that. One funny thing I remember about the series, series and everything we do, is that the discussion on sandbox versus determined history.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
remember that.
Yeah. And
So
the
no
EU
matter-
series have gone back and forth on that one.
Yeah, and the discussion has been very heated from time
Yeah.
to time in the forums as well. And I remember you could have like the Fire of London, even if like
Yeah.
things didn't turn out the same way, and like you had a lot of events that for countries that didn't exist anymore, basically.
Exactly. And the thing we did from EU2 had these kind of very hard-coded historical events. So
Yeah.
Spain, the classic is that Spain always goes bankrupt because historically Spain went bankrupt.
Right.
It doesn't matter if Spain is sort of like this kind of tiny one-province nation without any gold mines; they still go bankrupt in the 700s. And then for EU3, we wanted to make it more like, we want a bankruptcy event that can happen for a country that is in a similar situation
as Spain was.
was at the time. But we lost a bit of this kind of the historical flavor.
Yeah.
So with EU4, we tried at least in the beginning to do a little bit of this kind of, the events happen because of the situation you're in, but you're still treated to the historical background, right?
Right.
Even if the French Revolution happens in England, you get told about the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And then I think that in the expansions, more recently, they put in more of these kind of more targeted flavored events. You got like proper War of the Roses and these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
I think EU started off a little bit more deterministic than it is now. I have some vague memories about us doing like in EU4. Some vague memories that we were like, oh, the Ottomans don't expand into Europe by 1650.
Yeah.
Sort of like.
Yeah, we've always
AI
had that
bugs
kind
and
of
stuff
thing,
like
which has
that.
been a challenge with trying to do the dynamic thing, because we want the player to play freely and be dynamic, but we also want to give the player the kind of historical experience, so that if you're Poland, right, one of your early goals is going to be like, can you stop the Ottoman menace? And then it's sort of like, but if they don't come, right?
Yeah.
And if Germany doesn't start war in Hearts of Iron, someone has to do it, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have to somehow get
Yeah,
things
because
moving.
if there's a World War II game without World War II, right?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of boring.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the most difficult thing for Hoy. It's like making Germany do things.
Yeah, because Hearts of Iron is even more. EU4 has it, right?
Yeah.
But Hearts of Iron is even more compact.
Yeah.
In that sense, and if you think about it, this is sort of like diverting from E4. But if you think about it, it's sort of like if you're not Hitler and you rule Germany, starting World War II is kind of stupid.
Right.
So if the AI is supposed to look at the odds, try to win the game, don't start World War II. But how fun is that, right?
No.
Yeah. No.
In a potential EU5 in the future.
Yes.
All right.
What do you think is the most important thing in EU5?
That it's as cool as EU4.
I want to make it easy to
I
connect to
don't know,
people
that was
online and
boring answer.
play against people who are as bad as I am. That would be great. So every time you play against someone else, it's always someone who's super good at the game. Either I'm like the bottom 5 percentile, which might actually be the case, but then I want to face other people who are the bottom 5 percentile as well, because they're just as useless. And
I think I'm going to give a less boring answer. I would be sort of like, we redid the trade system for EU4. I'm not really happy with it. I would remake the trade system again.
there you go.
We also need to make sure that you can get actually to Asia earlier. That's impossible in EU4.
Is it?
Like the Silk Road sort of thing? Or
Conquest of Macau and stuff like that.
Exactly. The kind of one thing that's been really hard for us to get into like the EU4 is this notion of partial colonization. Some stuff. I think did we even squeeze in a Hong Kong province?
This has changed so many times I can't remember.
Yeah, we did, exactly. We have a special province there. That was Macau, right? Yeah. We squeezed an extra province just because historically it was colonized.
Right.
But this kind of thing where major powers make inroads in weaker nations.
Yeah.
It's been hard for us to do, and I think that's something that's missing into this colonial game.
I need to get to a meeting actually.
All right.
10 minutes downtown.
It was great
Good to see you as well on the stream here.
Yeah.
And
good to have you.
Yeah.
I think someone has conquered the world, as Ryoko seems to remember. Don't we have an achievement for that?
Yeah, but Jake did that before he started here. But
that's
what I mean. It's back in the day, so I don't know how much of that's possible today. Like how much balance has changed. Because a lot of reasons why you do things like this have a reason for a Ryuk existing and having a hard achievement. You see people find exploits.
Yeah.
Because when they're like, I posted this world conquest, then you can just see whichever exploits they did, you can fix it.
No, I think it's great with people who try to do exploits, because it teaches us a lot of that's also why I like to develop using multiplayer, because even if there are way more people playing single player, multiplayer is really useful for us in
it motivates people to
and also, but it shows you the weaknesses of the design.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing against the AI can never really play like you told it to, right? So it never finds an exploit. But in multiplayer, you will try to beat the other guy with whatever means you can. And then you have like both people who both multiplayer and also like streamers and people in the community who tries to find little loopholes. They tell us the kind of things that we need to find in the game design that would have taken like 100,000 players a lot of time to find, right?
I think we say goodbye then, because now Stellaris is coming soon.
All right.
They releasing a console thingy.
Yeah, the old game and the new game.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Nice to meet you guys.
Bye.